The Nigeria Consumer Protection Network, NCPN, said the proposed privatization of 5 National Integrated Power Projects, NIPPS, under the Niger Delta Power Holding Company power plants by Bureau of Public Enterprises, BPE, is a national security risk, as doing so may not guarantee their optimal performance. The NCPN reasons are not far-fetched, as the new investors, they say, will have to begin a fresh journey of having some levels of power purchase agreements and vesting contracts with the Nigerian Bulk Electricity Trading PLC. The sale of the plants now, as proposed, will not be at the appropriate prices, especially not when the country is seriously battling with challenges of deliberate load rejection by the distribution companies, DISCOs. Deliberate low energy dispatch by the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN. Also, load dispatch managers from the various energy load dispatch centers and the National Control Center at Osogbo, Osun State. Now, these challenges pose a great danger as the process may not be appropriately utilized. Now, President of the NCPN, Kunle Kola Olubiyo, noted with concern the ongoing process by BPE to sell 5 NIPP plants under the NDPHC as a move not properly designed. The focus on the program is to seek for more understanding on the proposed sale of the NIPP and the NDPHC power plant as kicked against by the NCPN. I am Lydia Odijochi. Welcome to the program, Nigeria Today. Joining me to discuss protecting Nigeria's power plants is a regular face on Nigeria Today when it comes to matters of electricity, Kunle Kola Olubiyo. He is the president, Nigeria Consumer Protection Network. Thank you for joining us once again.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
To discuss issues on electricity that you are so passionate about.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yes, we're also expecting to have Engineer Ifeoluwa Oyedele, Executive Director, Network at the Niger Delta Power Holding, NDPHC and the
holding company.
Yes, we hope to have him join us so that we can also have a robust discussion. Okay, let me start with you. Okay, now we want to understand the state of the power plants in the country. Where are we at this time?
Thank you very much. We are far on the low side of energy poverty. Okay. The national development, national growth, be it the United Nations Development Strategy, they are usually benchmarked on the availability of power. Okay. The poverty index of a nation depends largely on the availability, power ratio, capital ratio of energy. And it's disturbing that a population of 206 million people, we are managing to generate 4,000 megawatts. Not even until recently, when federal government had to get involved in some cleanup, escrowing the account of the distribution company. A DISCO will make 10 to 15 billion naira a month. The level of fiscal indiscipline was just too much. Federal government had to do the brownfield investment in fixing of the transmission line and a whole lot of things. Now, 4,000 megawatts is grossly inadequate.
Yes.
And so, for us to have, our industry at base load, they consume high volume of energy. They are not industries that could be powered by photovoltaic, PV, to grid. They are high level base load demand. And so we need this energy. And look at South Africa, look at Egypt. They are all doing, we pride ourselves as the giants of Africa. They are all doing not less than 50,000 megawatts. The problem has not been the refusal of this present administration to approve funds. Look at the tariff, for example. there are tariff methodology, there are tariff indexes. That is methodology that will have been used to arrive at this tariff. And we are saying that the tariff on electricity, the subsidy on electricity, the subsidy on oil and gas is to the benefit of individuals than Nigeria. And so from the end user, Mr. President is a consumer. The NTA, for example, is a very critical sector of the economy. It's on 11 kV line. It's supposed to be on 33 to have regular power supply. You can imagine the volume of alternative sources of energy, the cost of it. So what we are saying is that the 4,000 megawatts we have is not enough. In 2013, Nigerian government, because government is continuum, meant well by asking for a paradigm shift from the public sector driven electricity sector value chain to private sector by privatizing. But there was misalignment. We had all the indicators, all the framework, all the big grammars on paper. But the individuals that were given the assignment to carry out this assignment, we're not talking about the intention of Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari. We're talking about individuals that manages institutions, that the president will delegate his power for them to do things in national interest. And we are worried that the privatization of the power sector, which is the DISCOs, the GENCOs, we've seen the symptomatic and the aftermath effect of what we are getting. You've seen that most of these investors that want the first set of privatization in the power sector, they lack the technical and financial wherewithal. And you cannot get something out of nothing. So this particular concern, with 4,000 megawatts, during the COVID pandemic, the churches, the hotel and hospitality industry, the mosques, everybody, the industries, all shut down. And so for a private sector concern, it's all about cash and carry in local balance. And so when the industries were shut down, nobody was willing, because even the crude oil we had that we took into on export, we were begging people to come and help us evacuate the shipload of crude oil, because they were on the sea, they were accumulating demurrage. And so we said, please come and evacuate so that we stop paying demurrage. There was the global economy was completely shut down. So as we speak now, we have some challenges. The legacy GENCOs, the private sector investors in post-privatization, they are all talking about shortfall of tariff and market shortfall. They are all talking about legacy claims. The OICs, the oil and gas company, the multinational companies, they are saying that we are indebted to them to the tune of $1 billion US.
That's
so
a lot.
Yes, the point we are saying is, this is the government through the project monitoring unit, a very lofty ideas of federal government of TCN. There's a project PMU, World Bank, JICA, African Development Bank. It's government that have been investing in the power sector, even post-privatization. There are a lot of assets. There are a lot of assets that government have invested. Go to different parts of the country. The new investors, they refuse to take them over because they don't want to incur the liability, because their money will be deducted as source. So we need to address the fundamentals before we start talking about privatization of the DC. If not, we may not get better value and good result. And the government mean well, and that is why we are saying, look, the investment of the NIPP in generation, we know they've invested in generation, transmission and distribution. NEC supposed to do evaluation. And endlessly for 10 years, NEC have not come up. So we need to really get the value of this asset.
Now, with all you've evaluated now, we want to also know what you meant when you say the sale of this will be a national security risk.
Yes. You can imagine during the COVID, like I said earlier, all the private sector own generation company shut down. Nobody to buy. And there are times they shut down, they will ramp down power, they will shut down some of their turbines if there are no good returns for them. And so the original ideas of this NIPP, we had, Yusuf Ali is there, a managing editor of The Nation. I and some of these folks, like Mohammed, we meet, we put up some of these ideas, national railway integration, national electric power integration to the government of General Sani Abacha in 1993. And so, I'm not talking as a stranger. The original intent of this project is to have energy security. Now, if we have a situation where the private sector shut down, if during the COVID, this organization's plant were non-existent, that means the whole country will have been in darkness. There will have been zero power supply while the COVID pandemic lasted. What we are saying, at times, the commitment of this national integrated power project have not been optimized. When I say commitment, we already signed agreement with gas producers, take or pay. What it means is, in 2013, there are 3 people on the relay lane. The generation with its batting 100 meter, the transmission with its batting, and distribution. Generation having the NIPP power plant and some private Transcorp and what have you. They commenced the race and they were on speed. Meanwhile, transmission, due to lack of investment, due to not getting it right, decided that they were weak and they could not meet up with the speed. The same distribution. So it is not the fault of generation that a 100 meter relay, that the transmission and distribution arm of the sector have developed bad legs along the line. So what we are saying, in 2013, we had about 3,500 to 4,000 megawatts capacity. And we invited investors to come and invest in Nigeria. We promised them some bankable instrument, partial risk guarantee, put call option agreement, meaning that if they invest in the sector, and you recall that in 1976, during the coming to be of the military administration of General Olusegun Obasanjo, now President Olusegun Obasanjo, socialism was the in thing. And we decided that most of the foreigners, then we saw them as neo-colonialists. Most of their assets, British Petroleum was nationalized as African Petroleum and what have you. And so going from that experience, when we did the roadshow and we invited foreign investors to come and invest in Nigeria, the first thing their commercial attaché told them is that, going by our antecedent, in Nigeria, anything can happen. So they emphasize on sanctity of contract and enforceability of contract. So we could not get anybody to come in. Like, for example, Azura, you have about 20 consortium, multinational agencies, multilateral agencies that put their funds together. Investment funds will involve syndicated loans. And they said, look, for us to be guaranteed that one day the Nigerian government will not nationalize, we need the involvement of African Development Bank and World Bank. That's where African Development Bank and World Bank came in to midwife the transaction. The transaction, I said, look, Nigeria have foreign account, escrow account, we have foreign reserve. If you, as part of the arbitration clauses, if you default or nationalize, we are going to provide an instrument that it will look like a sovereign guarantee. We did that in the rail sector. That you undertake that when you default in any form, the investors could just take that bankable instrument and go to the World Bank and take their money, less your balance.
So at that time, people respected agreements.
Yes, what we are saying, because of what happened in 1976 to 1979, when we call it the indigenization decree of 1976 by Obasanjo military administration. They said, look, the World Bank must be involved. And so when the World Bank provided for Azura, that is the the one the National Assembly is investigating. We now ask the private investor that from 3,000 ramp up power to 7,500 megawatts. Nobody on earth will have imagined that the growth of transmission and distribution will be stagnated. Nobody, because the investment, different intervention funds, different foreign loans that have gone into transmission and distribution without result, we expected that as the generation ramp up from 3,500, now they have ready to pick 7,500. They have installed capacity of 13,500. But transmission and distribution have not gotten it right. Instead of fixing the vegetation encroachment on the grid, instead of fixing the SCADA, instead of talking about grid automation at transmission, instead of fixing reactor, instead of the distribution, this subsector, to think of how to reduce aggregate of technical, commercial, and collection losses, they were heavy on recurrent and, OPEX, operational expenditure. They were heavy on investment that was not adding value. Even post-privatization, most of the assets in the FCD, for example, is relaunched. Most of the substations are built by FCDA. Community contributes. So, and from the regulatory point of view, quite unfortunate, we have regulatory capture. So these are the issues that we need to address fundamentally. It goes beyond selling the power plants. If you sell the embed, because of the too much burden on government of having to sign commitment, have stopped giving PRD and PCOA. Really, so we feel that we need to address those fundamentals.
It's really very, very complicated.
It's complicated,
yes. Yeah. So we'll go for a break now. We'll be back in a moment to talk some more.
This is NTA News 24 broadcasting from Abuja. You can watch us anywhere, anytime on the following platforms.
Start Times Channel 101, Freak TV Channel 703, GSTV Channel 419, and Go TV Channel 46.
For more information, log on to our website www.nta.ng or join us on our social media handles, Facebook at NTA News 24.
For comments, suggestions and inquiries, send an email to news24@nta.gov.ng or call us on the following numbers.
NTA News 24,
news and more news.
Welcome back. The program is Nigeria Today, and my guest is still here with me. I'm talking about the Kunle Kola Olubio, President, Nigeria Consumer Protection Network, NCPN. The issues of energy, electricity supply, it's a passionate one. Every Nigerian is concerned about that because of the current issues in the power sector, not getting it right this time around. Well, with this topic, what we're talking about today, the sale of the plants, yes, Nigeria's power plants, and with all you have enumerated, before we went on the break, it's really, really very complicated. Now, we want you to explain further on how best these power plants can be managed.
Yeah, thank you very much. You see, like I was trying to say earlier, we've been asking for discussion from past government, present administration. This government is for Nigeria. This government came on the mantra change, and this is government for the people, by the people. The government mean well. Those of us from this end, we are equally expressing the aggregating the mindset of Nigerians that the template for tariff, the electricity tariff, and the pump price needs to be discussed. There are costs of bureaucracy that goes into the unit cost of electricity. The cost of, there are agencies of government. If you see the trucking and so many costs that we could clean up post Petroleum Industry Act. So that there are sector-wide inefficiency that you call price plating or gold plating of the content that we feel that government need to clean up, because government is losing so much. You need to imagine, for us to have this pump price we are having, the federal government have to subsidize. If federal government, look at what is happening in the UK. The cost of energy has increased so much by about 300 to 400%, because it's a market driven. But federal government have to come in to create stability. But even at that stability, we still owe it a duty to pass some message to government that the inefficiencies, the padded cost in electricity from 24 naira in 2022 to about 70 naira. So there are things that we are seeing that we feel that we mean well for government. When government look at review the inefficiencies, just like Mr. President now a few days ago said Orosai report should be implemented. This will reduce the cost of governance. And Mr. President mean well. So if we take some of these things, because the whole essence of selling, the original idea is that to build and sell.
Okay.
Is to build and sell. But one, we have not really, NEC have not come up with the proper value. Investment have been made. NEC is supposed to first of all do the value of this asset. It has taken NEC 10 years. Up to now, they've not, NEC is Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission. They've not come up with this value.
Should it take so long?
No. You know, ordinarily, if the government through the Niger Delta Power or PMU invest in the power sector and give such infrastructure to transmission or generation company or distribution company, they're supposed to, the manager of the market pool, MBE, is supposed to be deducting at source. Even if they have agreed that they will pay 50%, that money is supposed to be going to this agency. But by delaying and not ramping up the process, it means that that action is to the favor of the beneficiary. And what it implies in Nigeria, looking at the PID, you know, the PID templates, means that whoever has the authority to do that refuse is benefiting from being serviced by the beneficiary of the system. So Mr. President needs to set up a tax team to first of all address the issue. There's no time we will not sell. When we sell, during the PTF, we had PTF drug units and we have the one that are not PTF. And the PTF were what they call revolving fund. In Gwarimpa Estate, you can see so much money that was invested in Gwarimpa. Federal government needed not to bring in another money. What we needed to have done is, with that amount of money, owners, occupier, you sell. When you sell, you take the money and put it in an escrow account. It will serve as revolving fund. And with that, you continue to replicate. Not that you put in about 30 billion naira to build. If you sell, the proceeds of it, you know, it will like something with commercial value or business value. And so that is what it should be. Okay. The state government at this moment now, there is paucity of fund. We don't have the kind of resources that was put together in 1990, 17 years ago. So if we are selling, the essence of selling some of these assets is to close budget deficit. And federal government is taking a major step to make sure that there are agencies that might need to be matched to implement the Orosai report. Okay. And now, this sector-wide inefficiency in the tariff and the subsidy that we're looking at, if you look at it, it will reduce drastically. Yes. Then when we sell, we should avoid, in an election year, we should avoid the mistake. We are not saying federal government does not have the exclusive prerogative to sell. When we sell, this particular money should go into a revolving fund, because 4,000 megawatts is at 1 million to 1,000 megawatts to 1 million people, is only 4 million people out of 206 million.
Grossly
inadequate energy poverty. So when we said we should use, I'm from northern part of the country, I'm from Kogi State, without apology. And yes, the government mean well, but most of this first line of investment, we're putting this out, gas plant. Those from the north are saying that this is a national asset, our collective money, 36 states of the country. So when you said, give us this money in the revolving fund and put in the north, you have renewable, you have solar. We equally want We cannot use our own resources from Kogi, you are deducting from my state, to service the South. It's a federation, agree. But when we say, these are the issues that we may not be saying. When we say, put it in a revolving fund, and in different parts of the country, in different local government, have sector-specific generation that may be off-grid, so that our youth will stop rural-urban migration.
Yes,
we address the issue.
You talked earlier about increase in tariff.
Yes.
Now, or maybe reduction in tariff now, as the case may
Cleaning
be.
up the inefficiencies that we have seen in the sector. For 24 naira
Yes.
in 2022, yes, we know there are exchange rate volatility. 24 naira, band A now, we are paying about 68 naira per kilowatt hour. The margin between 24 and 68 is huge.
Yes, it is.
And so, if there are costs that are inefficiencies, you see, the nature of governance, Mr. President has appointed ministers and has appointed head of agencies. And in administrative law, there are delegated powers. So they are supposed to act on behalf of Mr. President in trust. So we are giving the other opinion to Mr. President that there are inefficiencies in the tariff that have been padded. When tariff is paid, when tariff money is paid monthly, which may not be known to Mr. President, there's a sharing formula for the beneficiary against the interest of the state, whether electricity or subsidy. And we are saying, Mr. President, with this time, should use his tenure to do this cleanup for us, because that is what we deserve as a country.
No, lastly, you really talked to us extensively about this matter, but also like you to give your parting was like a form of advice in handling this issue.
Yes, we are going to sell, but any moment from now, the gas producing company, the legacy Gencos, we are so much indebted to them, to the tune of average of $1 billion US. If they shut down, we should not lose sight of the fact that this power plant, for now, they are serving as energy security for the nation, our backup in case of city, as you talk in local parlance. Yeah.
Well, time is really never enough when matters of this kind are on the top burner for discussion. But we have no choice. It is here we have to stop, and we appreciate you, Kunle. Kunle, that is Kola Olubio, President, Nigeria Consumer Protection Network, NCPN, for giving us a lot of insight and information on the protection of...
There are things we cannot say on air because of the sensitivity of the issue.
Yes.
When the presidency set up a committee for review of the privatization, we'll bring our reasons to there are confidential issue or sensitive issue we can say on air.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
We really appreciate your time,
you,
even though we couldn't get to hear from Engineer Ifeoluwa Oyedele, who we expected earlier on the program. But we're grateful for your presence.
Thank you, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
And to you, our viewer, we hope you will join us again tomorrow for another episode. Remember, you can also watch this episode and other ones at www.youtube.com/NTN24hub. I'm Lydia Odidiochi, wishing you a wonderful night's rest and good night.